Out in the bush, they're asking, who the heck does this woman think she is? Or words to that effect. Her name is Ingrid Newkirk. She's English, she lives in America, and arguably she's the most radical, most powerful animal rights activist in the world. The kind of campaigner who'll either have you cheering from your lounge chair or throwing heavy objects at the screen. Right now, this foreign invader has our sheep farmers firmly in her sights. To her, the way they treat their animals is cruel, crude, barbaric, and has to be stopped. And she's hell-bent on wrecking the industry if she doesn't get her way.
Lie on your back! Lie on your hands!
When this group targets a company or a country, they go in hard.
Lie on your back!
PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, is as radical as it is effective.
Turn your back on fur!
Its leader is well aware of the power she wields.
We stopped NASA from sending monkeys into space. We stopped General Motors from crash testing on animals. We stopped about 550 cosmetics companies from testing in rabbits' eyes. They all said we wouldn't succeed, but we're tenacious and we'll give it a go.
Now, Australia is in Ingrid Newkirk's sights.
You have got the wrong sheep in the wrong place.
This English-born American is threatening to bring down our entire wool industry.
And your solution is the cheapest, greediest solution there is, which is just to hack their rumps off.
I know that you are wrong and that you have come here to shut down an industry, and it's 100,000 people that are engaged in it.
What's at stake here is a $4 billion a year industry. And the livelihoods of tens of thousands of Australian farmers are on the line.
There's no budging them unless they feel the pressure. You know, bleeding hearts don't affect them, bleating lambs don't affect them, but contracting wallets will affect them.
This is how PETA works. They target companies that use animal products and lobby to stop them. In this case, it was the leather industry in India. Convinced that Indian practices were barbaric, PETA went after the clothing companies that used the leather. One by one, chains like Gucci, Gap and Marks & Spencer buckled under the pressure of public demonstrations and celebrity arrests. India's leather industry was brought to its knees.
In the first year, they lost $68 million, American dollars, and they noticed the impact in the first 3 or 4 months.
Do you see that as a similar situation to the Australian wool industry?
In all probability, yes.
You might be wondering just why Australia's multi-billion-dollar wool industry feels so threatened by a relatively small environmental group. Well, when the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals set their sights on you, you'd better worry. If Ingrid Newkirk doesn't get her way, she says she won't only hurt the profits of the wool industry, she's determined, she truly believes it, that she'll shut it down forever.
I mean, this is a cult-like organisation, not necessarily based on a rationale. It's really based on a set of very strongly held personal beliefs in a non-democratic organisation with a highly efficient high priestess.
Simon Campbell is a third-generation sheep farmer. Like his forefathers, he uses a process called mulesing to prevent his merino sheep being infected by blowflies.
We need that to go down.
Using razor-sharp shears, farmers slice away the skin around the lamb's rump to create a bare patch.
Very, very quick. Usually an antiseptic powder onto it after that. And away they go. I say a short-term little discomfort for massive gains in terms of animal welfare.
It's not pretty and it is painful. But so is the alternative, fly strike, where blowflies infest the rear end of a sheep. It's a terrible death as maggots literally eat the sheep alive. Farmers say if they didn't mulese their lambs, 3 million a year would die.
It's about the same level of pain as you would get from more conventional treatments like tail docking and castration.
But Ingrid Newkirk and many others believe it's a brutal, outdated practice.
I was absolutely horrified. I'd never heard of it. And I don't think very many people had, or even today have, turning the lambs upside down and slicing the flesh off their backsides. And you could just see the looks on their faces, and you could see the damage this was doing without any painkiller or anything. It was the crudest, cruelest thing that I've seen. How on earth can you do these things, all these things, this litany of abuses to these sheep?
Can we just go through the partnership that the human has had with the sheep?
It's not a partnership. How can it be a partnership? That's like calling rape a partnership. They're not going to budge now, but we're going to show them that every day they don't budge, they stand to lose business, so they better budge.
How long will it take you to really damage the Australian wool industry?
Their fate is in their hands. They can decide today. They can decide in 3 months. They can decide next year, or they can decide in 4 years. But we'll have an impact. It's up to them how much impact, how long this war goes on.
It's tough talk, but don't underestimate Ingrid Newkirk's power. US retail giant Abercrombie & Fitch, with over 300 stores across America, has just announced they won't buy Australian wool. It's reported PETA threatened a campaign branding them Abercruelty and Fitch. Are you actively targeting big companies now who use Australian wool?
We're very close to bringing at least 2 more on board, as we have with Abercrombie & Fitch.
How do you garner their interest? Do you go in and say, we're going to make your life hell?
We say, we'd like to present you with the facts. And if they ignore us, we write again and say, we urge you to consider what's happening here. And if they continue to ignore us, then we have more people write to them, and sometimes a celebrity call them. And then we tell them, if you are going to ignore this, we have the right to be outside your stores. And then, usually, they come along.
Blackmail?
Honesty.
Some would see it as blackmail.
They might.
They were blackmailed by you.
No, they were told the
They
truth.
were blackmailed
All right,
by
that doesn't
you,
matter.
and that is what it does matter because
They're on board.
that is what you are doing
You are
to the
trying
other retailers.
Ian McLaughlin, former Defence Minister and a wool farmer who speaks for the industry, is one who sees PETA's tactics as extortion.
I have a cat in my office called Ginger. She was abandoned in a car, and she doesn't clean herself very well. I could take these shears and cut her backside off so that she'd be all right, but I don't. I practice good husbandry. I lift her tail up and I gently shave it and I monitor her. You can laugh.
So you're suggesting we go down all our sheep and do the same?
Pardon me. No. Pardon me. Let me finish. If I may finish, Ian. If I may finish. What I'm saying is that if you did to cats or dogs what you were doing to sheep, and if you did it to one dog or cat, you'd be in jail.
How strong a threat is PETA to the industry?
Oh, they're a serious threat. There's no doubt about a serious threat because they're ruthless.
Yet, despite their almost righteous anger, even farmers admit mulesing is an ugly business.
Yeah, I hate doing it. I really do. But the only reason for doing it is the welfare of the animal. And with a bit of involvement in the grower-funded R&D side of industry, I really do expect to see this phased out within some years.
But then farmers have been saying that since the 1940s, when alternatives to mulesing were first discussed. It seems no coincidence that since pressure from Ingrid Newkirk and PETA, things have hurried along. Why has it taken so long?
It's a difficult task. It's not an easy thing to come up with an alternative to something that's as cheap and quick and easy as mulesing is, and effective.
Professor Phil Hine from the University of Adelaide says there is a solution, but it's still 6 years away.
Well, what we've got is a naturally occurring protein that we discovered almost by accident. And when we put it into the skin around this area, it seems to do exactly what mulesing does.
Now, you know as well as I know that we have now a new protein that we're working on which will do this painlessly, we think, but we have to design an applicator which gets it round the breech of a sheep.
This is rubbish, Ian. You're a politician. You know that you can research things unto the ends of the earth. You can research for the rest of your natural life. That's why this promise that in the year 2010 you may adopt this system is meaningless. I've got a study here, let me tell you, where 600 sheep...
Is this a question or are you going to just keep on talking?
I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, you're not going to talk all through the interview.
But let me tell you this, because you are hiding the facts from the public. And our job is to put the facts out.
The public know the facts. The public in Australia do know the facts.
No, they don't.
Ingrid Newkirk wants mulesing to stop now. Her solution? Australian farmers should employ more help to individually monitor every animal. It's irrational. I cannot see for the life of me how that can happen overnight.
How is it irrational to say bad husbandry has to go? If you have 3,000 sheep or 20,000 sheep, today you need to hire the help you need to get out during blowfly season and monitor your flock and treat them properly.
That'll be hundreds and hundreds of people, perhaps thousands of people.
No. It isn't. Most farms in Australia have about 2,500 to 3,500 sheep. And then there are the mega, ultra greedy farms, about 600 of them, with maybe 20,000, 30,000 or more sheep. They don't live in poverty. These farmers are rich, they have money, and they need to spend it on labour.
When you understand that these people are all vegans, I mean, they don't approve of eating meat, they don't approve of any of these livestock ventures, they don't approve of pets or anything else, then it is for people to make judgments about them. I mean, you just can't sit there and take it because they happen to have some view of life that most people on Earth don't have.
In Ingrid Newkirk's ideal world, all animals will live free. No one will wear or eat an animal product, including milk or eggs. The list goes on. Fishing?
Hunting in the water?
Horse racing?
No, I'm not in favour of that.
What about swatting a fly?
Well, the jury is perhaps out on insects.
Ingrid even intends to continue her campaign from beyond the grave. What do you want done with your body when you die?
Oh, I've made a will and I've divvied it up. And I've left different parts to different people. My liver is going to France for an exhibit to protest foie gras, which of course is produced by the force feeding of ducks and geese. And some of my flesh is going to be barbecued. And I want people to go by and smell that barbie and say, oh, that's good. And someone will say, no, it's that woman. And they'll go, oh, God. And then the point will be made that we're all flesh and blood. It's all the same. You shouldn't be attracted to the smell of it. Go and eat something healthy that isn't a corpse.
People will say these views are crazy, extreme. Views from a woman who wants to bring down the Australian wool industry.
Well, I think that I am entitled to use my body, my voice, my ideas to try to achieve something that is harmless. At the least, it might be better than the idea of slaughtering animals for food, taking animals who are minding their own business and hanging them upside down and slitting their throats. Everything has to change as people open their eyes and their hearts and their minds.
You're not prepared to wait a few years to see whether this thing works.
I wouldn't be sitting here and talking to you if I didn't think you had a solution that you could grasp that's at your fingertips. The only thing is you won't take it, so you'll bury your industry. And that'll be on your head, not on mine.
Well, let me just finish. We won't be burying our industry
I've finished
in
because
any
I don't
way
need
at all,
a lecture.
and we'll look forward to seeing you in some other places.
But this wasn't the last word. As Ingrid Newkirk walked off, the wool industry pulled a stunt of its own.
Claim and an application in the Federal Court of Australia, naming you as the first respondent.
Serving her a writ against potential future damages.
Federal Court of Australia.
Thank you.
This will be a dirty, nasty war, and there's no guarantee Australia's farmers will win.
There you are. As I said, we'll see you again.
Maybe.
Hello, I'm Tom Steinfort. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our Extra Minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au, as well as the 9Now app.